The field was quiet. Smoke floated in the air. Fires burned in broken machines. Bodies, both human and alien, lay on the ground. The battle was over, but not really. Because one human was still alive. Her name was Elia Cross. Her suit was torn. Her helmet was cracked. Blood ran down her face. But she was breathing. Slowly, painfully, yet still breathing. She was the last one standing, all around her. Her team had fallen. Alpha Squad, Earth's best fighters. Gone. Wiped out in less than 6 minutes. The enemy was stronger, smarter, faster than expected. The Zarkari had come with full power. They weren't there to scare. They were there to destroy Dot, and now they saw her. A group of Zarkari soldiers stood near their armored crawler. 12 of them, all fully armed. All aiming at one target, Elia. They didn't speak, not with words. But their body language showed amusement. One step forward. Bigger than the rest. Blue armor with black claws. His voice came through a speaker, rough and sharp. The human still moves. Brave or stupid? Elia didn't answer. She held her side. Blood poured through her fingers. Her knees shook, but she stood. The Zarkari commander laughed. You think you can win this? Look around, human. You are alone. She looked. Bodies of her friends, her team, burned. Silent. Still, she stood. No weapon, no backup. You will die now, the commander said. Elia didn't blink. Her lips parted. Maybe, but I won't die afraid. The Zarkari didn't like that. He lifted his blaster. So did the others, a full squad ready to fire. And they did. 12 shots. 12 deadly beams of plasma. Too fast to dodge. Too strong to block. They hit her. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She dropped to her knees. Blood spilled to the dirt. Smoke rose from her suit. Her head bowed. Her arms fell to her sides. Her hair, once tied back, fell over her face. She looked done. One soldier whispered, "She's finished." Another stepped closer. Pathetic. But the commander raised a hand. Wait. The ground under her began to tremble. Only a little. Just enough to notice. What is this? He asked. No one answered. Then the wind changed. It blew hard and fast. From behind her. From the forest. From the mountains. From everywhere. But also from nowhere. The fire around her died out. The smoke cleared. The light in the sky turned strange. Not dark, not bright, just wrong. One soldier adjusted his visor. "Readings are unstable," another shouted. "The atmosphere is shifting. Something's wrong with the ground." Then they saw it. Her blood where it touched the earth was glowing. A soft blue glow. Faint at first, then brighter. Like tiny stars waking up in the dirt. The commander hissed, "Back up, now!" But it was too late. Elia lifted her head. Her eyes were open now, wide, glowing with the same blue light. She was still on her knees, still bleeding, still broken, but something was different. Her voice came low, not angry, not loud. Just calm. "You shouldn't have touched this place." The commander fired again. Another bolt hit her shoulder. She didn't move. The bolt burned through skin, muscle, bone. Still she stared. "What is she?" one soldier whispered. "A ghost?" Another said. The wind grew colder. The ground cracked beneath their feet. Suddenly, every device the Zarkari carried, blasters, scanners, helmets, shut down. Sparks flew. Screens died. Guns failed. "No tech?" the commander yelled. "HFY?" Then they heard it, a low sound, like humming. But not mechanical. It came from the ground. No. It came through the ground, a rhythm, like breathing. Then a voice. Not Elia's, not the Zarkari's, something ancient. Something deep. It spoke in no known language, but they understood it. She is the blood. She is the bond. She is the gate. The soldiers panicked. It's her. One shouted, "She's summoning something." The commander roared, "She is nothing. Kill her now." They moved forward, blades drawn, but Elia raised one hand. Just one. The air bent around her, like a bubble. Like time stopped for her, and then she fell. Her body dropped flat to the ground. She wasn't breathing. She wasn't glowing anymore. She looked ... silence ... no sound. No movement. Even the wind paused. One soldier approached, weapon ready. "It's done. She's gone." But the commander didn't believe it. He pointed. "Check her pulse. Make sure." The soldier knelt, touched her wrist. Eyes wide. Cold. No pulse. He turned. "She's dead." Then Elia's lips moved, just barely. One word, not loud, but clear. "Run." The soldier froze. She spoke, then his chest exploded. Not from a bullet, from inside. He screamed and fell. The others raised weapons. Screamed. Fired in panic. But it didn't help. The ground opened beneath them. Black. Vines wrapped around their legs, arms, throats. One by one, they were pulled down into the earth. No blood spilled. Just silence followed. Within seconds, only one Zarkari remained. The commander. He stepped back, eyes wide, claws shaking. Elia's body still lay on the ground, not moving. But behind her, the earth began to shift. Something was rising, not metal, not monster, a structure, a tower made of dirt, stone, and light. It grew fast, tall, sharp. Symbols glowed on its walls, human. Writing mixed with something else. The commander fell to one knee. "What ... are you?" he whispered. Then Elia stood. Slowly, painfully, but she stood. Her eyes still glowed. Her wounds still bled. But she stood tall. She didn't speak. She didn't move toward him. She just looked, and he dropped his weapon. He couldn't breathe. His chest tightened. His mind raced. "This is wrong," he said. "You're supposed to be human." She blinked. "I am," the sky roared. Thunder cracked. But there were no clouds. The tower behind her pulsed with energy. The ground around her shimmered. The commander turned. Tried to run, but the vines were already at his feet. He looked back one last time. "What ... did we wake up?" Elia didn't answer. She just watched ... as he was pulled into the earth. As the battlefield grew still again. As the tower behind her glowed like a second sun. She walked forward, step by step. Bleeding. Broken. Alone. But alive. And something far older. Then war had returned with her. The wind was still. The battlefield looked like a graveyard now. The fire was gone. The smoke had cleared. And the tower behind Elia stood like a warning. A warning no one understood. But new ships were already coming. High above, black shadows cut through the clouds. Big Zarkari troop carriers. Bigger than the first ones, heavier, full of reinforcements. They didn't know what happened below. They only knew one human remained, and she was marked for death. Inside the lead ship, Commander Jurox fell. Brother of the fallen Zarkari leader growled at his screen. They said the last one fell. So why? Is this tower here? No one answered. He opened the comms. Team 2, drop to the surface. Kill anything that breathes. Yes, Commander. 3 dropships launched. They flew fast, straight down, heading for the tower. Dust clouds rose behind them as they landed. In a triangle around her, Elia didn't move. She stood in front of the tower, barely upright, her face pale, her wounds fresh. One soldier, taller than the rest, stepped forward and laughed. "She's barely alive. We should put her out of her misery." Another chuckled. "Look at her legs. She can't even stand straight. Are we sure this is the one who took out first squad? Maybe they died from boredom." They all laughed. Elia just blinked. No words. No movement. But her gaze was sharp, cold, like steel in the wind. One soldier moved closer, dragging a long blade. "You'll die slow, human. Maybe we'll enjoy this one." But then, The wind shifted. It came again. Low, deep, cold. The soldier stopped walking. He looked up. Why is it getting dark? It was single quotes today, but the sky was turning red. Not from smoke. Not from clouds. Just red, like paint pouring across the sky. One of the alien lieutenants checked his visor. Commander, something's happening to the sun. What are you talking about? Jurax barked from the ship. It's turning blood red. Impossible. Solar shifts don't happen that fast. Then came the sound. A hum, like a siren. But natural. Like the voice of the sky. The soldiers looked around. Their hearts beat faster. Their weapons suddenly felt too small. Their armor too weak. The lead soldier raised his rifle. This is a trick. It's just weather. He pointed it at Elia. Say goodbye, little girl. He pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. He hit it again. Still nothing. Gun's dead. Mine too. All systems down. Panic spread like wildfire. One after another, their weapons failed. Their visors blacked out. Their comms hissed with static. Suddenly, all tech stopped working. Commander Jurax shouted through the link. Team 2, respond. Nothing. He tried again. Report, that's an order. Still nothing. Then from the tower, a light pulsed. Once, twice. The soldiers on the ground backed up. Elia still didn't move. But behind her, the stone began to glow. Symbols lighting up in red, gold, and blue. One soldier whispered, "She's calling it again." Another said, "It's like the planet's listening to her." And then the ground spoke. No words, just a sound, like metal grinding under the surface. Then a shape rose behind Elia, something half buried in the earth. At first, it looked like a statue, but it moved, not machine, not beast, a creature made of old armor and broken roots. Its eyes glowed white. Its mouth didn't open, but its voice echoed everywhere. You come again. With blood and hate. The soldiers froze. One dropped his weapon. Another fell to his knees. The creature stepped forward. Each step shook the dirt. It stood beside Elia, twice her height. Yet somehow loyal. The creature looked at her, then at the Zarkari. Do you want them dead? Elia didn't speak. She simply nodded. The creature roared. The sky cracked. A bolt of red lightning fell from the clouds. It hit the first dropship. Boom. The ship exploded. Torn into burning pieces, the soldiers screamed, "Retreat! Get back to the ship!" But it was too late. Vines shot from the ground. They wrapped around legs, arms, throats. Some soldiers were pulled underground. Others were lifted into the air, choking, clawing, gasping. The creature stepped forward again, its voice now like thunder. She bled. You laughed. Now you burn. One Zarkari grabbed his commander's body cam, recording it all. Send this to High Command. He threw the drone up before he was taken down. High above, in the sky carrier, Commander Jurax watched the footage come in. He saw his soldiers screaming. He saw the lightning. He saw the creature beside. EOYA. He saw the tower shining like a second sun. And worst of all, he saw Elia smile. It was faint, tired, but real. Jurax stepped back. This is not a soldier. He looked at his advisors. This is a myth. No, Commander, one whispered. It's a weapon. The last transmission from the surface cut out. All that remained was the image of Elia, standing tall. Alive. Barely. But terrifying. Commander Jurax fell, stood at the window of his flagship. He didn't blink. He just stared at the red sky. The storm below was growing. The tower behind the human woman Elia Cross now glowed like fire, and next to her stood that impossible creature, old as the earth, loyal only to her. Jurax turned to his officers. This isn't war. This is something else. His second-in-command whispered, Should we pull back? No, Jurax said. We kill it, all of it, before more humans find out what she's become. He raised his arm. Send the Reapers. Silence filled the room. Even the bravest officers turned pale. Sir, one said, the Reapers haven't been used in years. Jurox's voice dropped to a growl. Send them. Down on the surface, the air had turned heavy, like it could fall on your back and crush your bones. The red sky above seemed to bleed. The tower behind Elia pulsed again. With every beat, the ground trembled. Elia stood still, her knees shaking, blood still dripping from her side. But her eyes were sharp. The creature beside her, stone-skinned, massive, glowing, watched the sky. They are coming again, it said. Elia looked up. 3 dark ships tore through the clouds like claws. These weren't normal dropships. They were black, sharp, fast, silent. The Reapers. Each one carried 6 elite Sarkari hunters. Not soldiers. Not commandos. Executioners. They were sent only when nothing else worked. Their armor was thick but light, covered in strange runes. Their faces were hidden behind dark masks with no eyes. They didn't talk, didn't joke, didn't show fear. They dropped fast. Landed harder, and started walking toward her like death on 2 feet. Elia didn't move, but her creature guardian growled. These ones smell like death, old blood, magic mixed with metal. One Reaper raised a long curved blade. The other 2 split left and right. The leader came. Straight. No orders. No words. Just killing. Elia took one slow breath. Her knees nearly gave out. Her hands trembled. Still, she stepped forward. 1 step. 2. The creature whispered, "You can't face them alone." Elia said nothing. Her eyes burned bright again. But this time not blue. White. The Reaper swung. A clean strike aimed at her throat. But as the blade came close, she raised her hand and whispered 3 words. Let them feel. The moment the words left her lips, everything stopped. Time didn't freeze, but the air did. The wind vanished. The ground turned silent. Even the Reapers stopped. Mid-dash, step. Mid-dash breath. Then they began to shake. Not their hands, not their weapons. Their bones. Inside their bodies. Something began to crack. It started slow. Finger here. A rib there. Then louder. Crack. Snap. Crrrkk. The lead Reaper dropped to his knees. He tried to scream, but no sound came. He looked at her with wide, panicked eyes. Then, his spine bent backward, too far. He fell flat, arms stiff. Dead. The other 2 tried to move, tried to attack, but they couldn't lift their arms. Their bones were frozen solid from the inside. "What is this?" one gasped. "What did she do to us?" Said the other. They weren't asking her. They were asking the world, because nothing like this had ever happened before. Even the Zarkuri High Command hadn't seen this power in any human. But Elia had. Elia was the power now. Far above. Commander Jurox watched the feed from the Reaper squad, and he watched it go silent. That's impossible. He backed away from the screen. Get me every science officer, every psychic, every record on human planet bonding technology. Someone asked, "Do you believe she's linked to the world?" He didn't answer. He just said, "She spoke 3 words, and they died from the inside out." Back on the surface, the last Reaper tried to crawl away. Elia walked after him. Slowly. Her breathing ragged, blood still dripping, but her eyes full of fire. The Reaper reached for a blade. His hand froze in the dirt. She knelt beside him. Her voice soft. "You came here to kill us all." The Reaper's mouth trembled. "We thought you were weak." She leaned closer. Her blood dripped onto his mask. It hissed like acid. "You were wrong." And then his helmet shattered from within. His head slumped, lifeless. The red sky flashed once. And then it turned black. Not from night. But from fear. The storm clouds above spun like a vortex. Lightning flashed in sharp lines. Thunder didn't rumble, it screamed. The guardian beside her whispered again. They know now. The galaxy watches. Elia looked up at the black sky. Then toward the east. More ships. Dozens. Coming fast. Bigger than before, and behind them, a battleship. Long as a city. They're bringing everything, she said. The Guardian nodded. Then give them everything back. The red sky was gone now. It had turned black. Not with night. Not with smoke, but with ships. Big ships, long ships. Thousands of them. All coming. Down. Commander Jurax fell, stood on the deck of his main battlecruiser. His face was tight, his jaw locked. Behind him stood generals, scientists, and war priests. They all stared at the screen. A single girl stood on the ground, and above her, the entire HFY War fleet was descending. Jurax's voice was cold. She wants war. We'll give her more than that. She'd drown in it, one priest asked softly. And if she's the myth we feared? Jurax didn't even turn. Then we rewrite the myth with fire. Down on the surface, Elia stood in front of the glowing tower. She didn't look strong. She looked broken. Her arms still bled. Her body shook. But her eyes burned like stars. The Guardian beside her growled. They bring too many. Even your fire won't hold them all. Elia didn't answer. She walked forward and touched the ground. Just once. A pulse spread. The soil glowed under her feet. A line of light raced through the dirt. Then another dot and another dot until the entire land around her was glowing with ancient lines runes buried long ago. The Guardian stepped back. You woke the old ones. Elia stood tall. I need them now. The tower behind her hummed louder. A sound like wind and metal. Then it split open, revealing a circle of light inside. From the circle, more shapes stepped out. Not machines, not humans, not beasts, something in between. They walked like warriors, but looked like statues. Their bodies were made of stone and ash. Their eyes burned white. They surrounded Elia in silence. 12 of them. The Guardian lowered his head. You found the 12 Flameburn. Elia looked at him. Will they obey? They only obey strength. She nodded. And whispered, then let them see it. Above them, the army ships began to land. They dropped in waves. First came the tanks, tall as buildings, covered in heavy guns. Then came the mechs, walking machines with missile arms. Then foot soldiers, over 50,000, all in black armor, all trained for death. Commander Jurax spoke into his fleet. Comes. No more mistakes, no more squads, no more mercy. Level the entire zone. I want her bones scattered to the winds. The army moved like a flood of metal and hate. The first tanks rolled forward. Missile locks engaged. Radars blinked red. They fired. Dozens of warheads flew at Elia. The sky flashed. The tower glowed brighter. But she didn't run. She didn't scream. She just pointed. Ash. The Flameburn moved. One raised his arm. A wall of fire shot up. Missiles hit it and disappeared. No smoke. No sound. Just vanished. Another Flameburn slammed the ground. Pillars of stone rose from the earth, crushing a tank like paper. Then the third Flameburn roared and sent a wave of molten rock sweeping through the battlefield. The first wave of soldiers vanished in screams. Still, the HFY pushed forward. They fired plasma cannons, sent drones. Called airstrikes. Nothing worked. Elia walked forward again, step by step. She raised her hand, and the ground opened under the second tank column. Swallowed whole. No explosion. Just silence. The HFY began to slow. They had numbers. They had ships. They had no effect. Commander Jurax shouted, bring in the Null Squad. A new group dropped. 6 warriors, covered in tech that blocked psychic powers. They landed behind Elia, thinking she wouldn't hear. She turned her head slightly, just enough, and said, you're late. They attacked. Fast. But the Flameburn turned. First. 3 moved. Blades of heat flashed. The Null Squad didn't even cry out. They simply melted. Back in orbit. The officers started to panic. She's not just strong, She's protected by something older. We're throwing everything, and it's not enough. Commander Jurok stared at the screen. His hands trembled slightly, but then he smiled. She thinks this is the full army. He turned to his control officer. Unleash Project Black Rain. The officer gasped. That's not ready. It'll kill everything. Jurok's voice was sharp. Exactly. On the surface, Elia finally dropped to one knee. Too much power. Too much pain. But she kept breathing, kept watching. The sky turned again. This time not red. Black. But not with ships. With smoke. Gas. Toxic rain. It began to fall in sharp drops. Acid. Burning everything it touched. The flame burn hissed. Even the tower dimmed. The Guardian cried out. This is death made liquid. Elia stood again. Slowly. She looked at the sky. The drops hit her skin, burned her. But she didn't move. She just raised her hand and whispered, You forgot. I was born in fire. And then she breathed in the poison. The black gas filled her lungs. Her skin cracked. Glowed. And then she exploded in light. A shockwave. A flash. The entire battlefield went white. Far above, Jurok was thrown back from the blast. The ship trembled. Every screen blinked out. Then came a final message, one image, from the last surviving drone. It showed the battlefield. Empty. Silent. But in the center stood Elia. No longer bleeding. No longer broken. Her body glowed faintly. Her eyes burned gold. The flame burn knelt. The Guardian bowed. And behind her, the tower floated off the ground. The battlefield was still burning, but Elia Cross stood in the center, untouched. Her body glowed with golden light. Her blood had stopped. Her eyes had changed color again, from gold to silver. And the tower behind her now floated 5 feet above the ground. Spinning slowly, the Zarkari fleet had stopped firing, stopped moving, stopped thinking. They were afraid. They didn't understand her anymore. Commander Jurok Fell stood in silence on his command ship. Sweat ran down his face. His hands shook at his sides. She breathed the black rain, one officer whispered. She should be dead, said another, but she glows brighter than before. Jurok slammed his fist against the control table. Enough. He turned to the only person left who hadn't spoken, the Mind Architect, a tall, thin creature in red robes. Its eyes were hidden behind silver bands. Its voice was smooth and slow. You finally need me, Commander. Jurok nodded. You say you can destroy minds without touching the body. Yes, then take hers apart. It will be done. That night, Elia sat under the glowing tower. The flame burn was scattered. Silent. The Guardian sat beside her. He watched her chest rise and fall. Her breath slow, her body healing. You've changed, he said softly. Am I still human? She asked. The Guardian didn't answer, because the truth was clear. She wasn't just human anymore. She was something new. Suddenly, the wind stopped. Stars blinked out, and the air turned cold. Very cold. Even the tower dimmed slightly. Elia stood up slowly. They're here. In the real world, her body stayed still, but inside her mind, everything shattered. She wasn't standing on grass anymore. She was falling through a black ocean. Dreams folded around her. Nightmares crawled at the edge of her thoughts, and in the center, waiting for her, stood the Mind Architect. Welcome to your own mind, it said. Elia blinked. You're not real. No, it replied. But this place is. The architect raised a finger and the sky split. Her childhood memories exploded above her. She saw her mother, her home, her first smile. Then they all turned to ash. You'll lose everything, the architect whispered. You'll forget who you are. I'll tear your mind apart until you beg me to end it. But Elia did not scream. She smiled. You stepped into my dream, she said. No, it replied. You're in my trap. Elia looked down. Her feet were gone, her legs fading, her body breaking apart. The architect laughed. See, you're disappearing. No, she said, I'm becoming. She raised her hand and grabbed the sky, the black dream sky, ripped open like paper. White light spilled in. The architect froze. What are you doing? Elia stepped forward. She wasn't fading anymore. She was growing. She looked 10 feet tall. Her body wrapped in light, her voice now deep and soft at the same time. You tried to break my mind, but I walked through. Yours. The architect's body cracked. He tried to run, but he was no longer in control. Because suddenly, they weren't in Elia's mind anymore. They were in his dot, and Elia was already inside. She turned his thoughts against him, spun his memories. Like knives. You tortured 1,000 soldiers in their sleep, she whispered. You erased memories for fun. Now feel what they felt. The mind architect screamed out, not in the real world, dot inside his own head. He tried to wake up, but Elia was already waiting behind every door, dot, and one by one. She shut them all, dot, back on the ship. Commander Jurox watched as the architect's body dropped, dot, no wounds, dot, no marks, dot, just dead, eyes open, mouth twisted in silent horror, dot. Jurox backed away. She killed him. Without moving, a tech officer whispered, Commander, if she can enter minds, she could be listening now. Silence, dot. Then Jurox barked, shut down all external sensors. Lock down mental channels. Cut off dream nets, emotion fields, even the memory cloud. But then we won't be able to think together, then we think alone. Back on the planet, Elia opened her eyes. The tower above her now pulsed with her heartbeat. The Guardian looked nervous. They're cutting off all thoughts, he said, trying to hide from you. Elia nodded. Then I'll walk into what they fear most. The Flameburn bowed, dot. The Guardian asked, what will you do now? Elia stood, body glowing like starlight. They tried to enter my mind. Now I'll enter their fears. She turned toward the sky, dot, and whispered, open. And the air itself ripped open. The stars above the planet were quiet, but something was building, dot. Commander Jurox fell, stood inside the deepest level of the main warship. His face looked calm, but his eyes were red from fear and no sleep. All around him, giant tubes glowed with dark red light. Inside those tubes floated shadows. They were shaped like weapons, but they were not machines. They were living weapons. Each one was locked inside heavy energy fields. One twitched, dot. Another let out a slow scream that made 2 soldiers faint. Jurox looked at the general beside him. Release it. The general paused. Sir, Project Void Fang is unstable. Jurox stared into the dark glass. So is she. And we've lost enough pride. The general entered the code, and the biggest tube opened. Dark smoke spilled into the room. A shape stepped out. Thin, long arms. No face, just a pulsing black circle where its eyes should be, dot. No feet. Just floated above the ground, dot. Void Fang was awake, dot. Jurox said one word. Find her, break her, return with her mind. Void Fang turned and disappeared. On the surface, Elia sat near a small pool of water, dot. Her body still glowed, but dimmer now. Even she had limits, dot. The Guardian watched from the shadows. He could feel something wrong, something cold in the air. The Flameburn didn't speak. They could feel it too. What is it? Elia asked softly. The Guardian didn't answer. The trees around them began to wither. The ground cracked. The sky turned dark blue like bruised skin. Then a wind came, but it didn't blow from anywhere, dot. It sucked the world in. The pool of water shook, dot. Then rose into the air, dot. And in the center of it appeared a void, dot. No sound, no color, just hunger. Void Fang had arrived, dot. It didn't speak, dot. It didn't roar, dot. It just looked at her, dot. And Elia felt it, dot. Not pain, not fear, but emptiness. Her memories began to slip. She forgot her own name for a second. Her hand started shaking. Tower behind her flickered. The Flameburn tried to move, but dropped, one by one. Not dead, just blanked out like their minds were being erased. You cannot fight it, the guardian whispered. It is the anti-thought. The true silence. Elia stood. Her voice shook. I fought monsters, armies, mines, but never nothing. She stepped forward. Void Fang didn't move, but the wind around him grew sharper. The air cut her skin like glass. Still, she walked. Until they were 10 feet apart. She raised her hand and said, Return. But Void Fang didn't obey. It twisted the word. Sent it back at her. The command hit her chest. And for a moment, her own body started walking away from herself. She fell to her knees, eyes wide, breathing hard. Void Fang lifted a hand and fired its weapon. Not fire, not light, but a beam of pure void. The guardian screamed, Elya. But the beam never hit her, because something blocked it. Something made of broken flame, a flameburn, one who had fallen, but now stood again. His eyes burned hotter than before. And in his hand was a shield made of memory. He looked back at Elia. You gave me a name once. That's enough to live. Elia stood again and remembered. Her name, her family, her reason. Her strength. Void Fang twisted, trying to attack again. But this time Elia was ready. She moved into the void beam, and instead of being erased, she grabbed it. Held it, turned it. And sent it back. Void Fang didn't understand. No one had ever stopped its power before. The beam hit its own body, and it began to break apart, screaming without sound, exploding without fire. Its own weapon was destroying it. The flameburn raised their heads. Their minds returned. The tower glowed bright, and Void Fang vanished. Forever. Back on the warship. Alarm screamed. Rurok saw the readings. Void Fang is gone? The tech said nothing, but nodded. Rurok stared at the screen. Elia was walking again, this time towards space. The battlefield was quiet again. Void Fang was gone. The flameburn stood in silence. They had watched something impossible. A human once broken, bleeding, had faced a weapon made from nothing. And one. Now Elia Cross stood at the edge of the ancient tower. The wind touched her skin softly. Her feet were bare. Her body was glowing like morning light. But she wasn't resting. She was looking up. At the sky. At the stars. At the ships, still waiting above, ready to destroy her. The flameburn stepped closer. You need a ship, said one. You'll never reach them without one, said another. But Elia shook her head. I don't need wings to fly. She reached out toward the sky and whispered a single word. Open. And then the sky bent, not like glass, not like fabric, but like space itself was turning toward her. In orbit. Alarms screamed across the Zarkari. Fleet. Star maps twisted. Navigation broke. Their engines drifted off course without firing. Commander Jurox fell stared at the main screen. What is happening? A scientist screamed. Gravity maps are collapsing. Another shouted. She's pulling the orbit. But there were no ships around her. No devices. No tech. Just Elia Cross, walking slowly into the air. Step by step. No wings. No rockets. But gravity bent below her feet, creating invisible stairs. Each step echoed across the fleet's sensors, and each echo made their machines shut down in fear. Jurox's voice cracked. Is she pulling the planet? The science officer said nothing. He simply fell to his knees and began to pray. Back on the surface, the Guardian stood beside the tower. He had watched thousands of suns rise, fought beside giants. Buried gods. But he had never seen this. She's not walking into space, he whispered. Space is walking toward her. The flameburn fell to their knees, and for the first time they called her something new. Not the human, not the wounded one. They sighed. Starburn. Up above, Elia reached the edge of the atmosphere. Her skin should have burned. Her lungs should have stopped. But space itself seemed to move away from her. The cold avoided her body. The heat kissed her gently. And in front of her stood the first enemy ship. Big, black, covered in weapons. The same ship that fired the black rain on her days ago. Its cannons aimed at her again. Its lights glowed red, and the speakers shouted, "This is Commander Jurok. Surrender. We will show mercy." Elia floated there silently. Then replied, "I gave mercy to Void Fang." "Did he tell you how it felt?" The ship fired. Everything that had missiles, plasma, shockwaves. They reached her in 2 seconds. But in those 2 seconds, Elia raised her hand, and the space between her and the ship folded. The weapons disappeared. No sound, no fire, just vanished, like they never existed. Jurok's ship began to shake. His crew panicked. "We can't target her. She's not in one place. She's standing outside our maps." Jurok ordered one final command. "Fire the planet killer." From the belly of the warship, a giant sphere dropped. It began to glow blue. The planet killer, a weapon built to shatter worlds, not to conquer them, to erase them. The Flameburn saw it rising. The Guardian whispered, "This is the end." But Elia didn't flinch. She looked at the glowing sphere and whispered a new word. "Remember." Suddenly, the planet killer froze. Its lights blinked. It made a strange sound, then began to play. Memories. Not explosions, not data, but her memories. Her first mission. Her friend's laughter. Her pain. Her fall. Her rise. The weapon began to glow gold instead of blue. And then it turned around, aiming not at the planet, but at the ship that launched it. Jurok screamed, "Stop it!" But the weapon did not listen. It had changed. Elia raised her hand once more. The weapon fired, and the ship that launched it broke apart silently. Not in a blast, but like a dying thought. Now there were only 3 ships left. Each turned. Each began to flee. Elia watched them go, but she did not follow. She simply turned her head toward the stars. Then she walked forward, and the stars began to bend toward her. The stars had bent. The fleet was broken. The deadliest weapon had obeyed her voice. And now, Elia Cross floated beyond the edge of the battlefield. Her body still glowed. But now, it was not just light. It was truth. The galaxy had seen her fall, had watched her bleed, had mocked her pain. Now, they watched her rise like a myth and feared what would come next. Across a distant system, deep inside the Zarkari High Temple, the last hope was being awakened. He had not been seen in 1,000 years. He was not a soldier, not a machine, not a ruler. They called him simply the End God, a living creature made from war, storms, and silence. He did not eat. He did not rest. He only ended things. They had sealed him long ago, fearing his power. Now, they had no choice. Elia Cross had become a problem too great. Even their minds could not break her. Even their weapons had turned against them. So they opened the vault. And the End God stepped out. He didn't speak. He didn't question. He simply looked toward the direction of the light and began to walk. Far above, Elia stood on an invisible stair of gravity and thought. Around her, pieces of enemy ships drifted. She didn't touch them, but even metal seemed to pull away from her now. Like space respected her. Then she felt it. A presence. Not like Void Fang. Not like a fleet. Not a mind. Not a weapon, but a will. Something old was coming. Something made before names. She turned her head slowly, and there he was. N-God. No ship. No armor. Just a body made of shifting light, smoke, and thunder. His eyes burned like dying stars. His steps made cracks appear in the void. Even time bent around him. Elia stood still. The End God stopped 10 steps away. He looked at her. She looked at him. The galaxy held its breath. Then he asked, in a voice that shook suns, "What are you?" Elia didn't answer with words. She stepped forward. Slowly. 1 step. Then another. No weapons. No fear. Only truth. She placed her hand on her heart. Then whispered, "I'm what you forgot." The End God looked confused. She stepped closer. "You forgot Pain. You forgot love. You forgot being weak. Her eyes locked with his, but I never did. She reached out and touched his chest. Nothing exploded, nothing screamed, but something changed. And God blinked. For the first time in forever, he remembered the stars he destroyed, the planets that cried, the lives that vanished, and the silence he became. He dropped to his knees. The light in his eyes dimmed. His voice became human again. Soft, broken. I remember. And I'm sorry. Elia nodded. Then kneel. And the galaxy will heal. And the end, God did. Before all watching eyes. He bowed. In every system, screens went dark. Zakari officers fell to their knees. War fleets turned away. Minds that had mocked humanity now whispered praise, because in one moment, the galaxy saw not a soldier, not a weapon, not even a god, but a human who had fallen, bled, endured, and then risen so high, even a god bowed in her presence. Back on the planet, the flame burned, cheered. The tower glowed brighter than ever. The Guardian smiled, tears in his eyes. It is done. Elia looked up one last time. At the stars, at the endless dark, and whispered softly, "We are not small." Then she turned around. And began the long walk home, not because she was tired, but because her message was delivered, and the galaxy would never forget. Asterisk.